everyone. Thank you so much and welcome to our Lloyds Banking Group live online career panel session this evening. It's wonderful to see so many of you engaged in Lloyds Banking Group and the career opportunities that they offer, and to see so many of you here today to find out a little bit more about their industrial placements, about their apprenticeship and their graduate schemes, and of course to meet our wonderful panellists this evening. So our panellists have some fantastic stories to share, some advice, some guidance, which we hope will help make those, excuse me, very tough education and career decisions that I'm sure most of you are deliberating on right now. The panel session is for 45 minutes. It's going to be followed by a 15-minute Q&A. We ask you throughout the session to keep your cameras off, to mute your mics. And again, as I say, if you've got any technical difficulties at all throughout the session, please email info@digdata.online. So, my name is Rachel Keane. I'm the founder of the Data Inspiration Group and the Digdata programme, and I'll be moderating today's session. So let's kick this off. Let's get some short intros from our panellists. Sarah, over to you.
Perfect, thanks Rachel. So hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I work in the Lloyds Banking Group Emerging Talent team. So my role is to work with all of the different parts of the group. For me, particularly from a digital and technology perspective, to help the different parts of the group to shape and to deliver and oversee their strategies from an emerging talent perspective, and to help create opportunities to build key skills and capabilities across the group that we need. So that could be graduate programmes, apprenticeships, internships, industrial placements, etc. So lots of different things, and it's a really great place to work and to a really great kind of area to get involved in as well. Callum, do you want to go next?
Yeah, of course. So hi, I'm Callum. I am a grad on the data science grad scheme at Lloyds. I've been here for about a year so far, so I've done 2 placements. My first placement was with the behavioural sciences team, and my current placement is with Group Chief Information Office. And I'm really enjoying my time so far. It's a great place to work and a great industry to be in. Data is becoming increasingly important in our world. I'll pass to Shima.
Thanks, Callum. Hi, my name is Shima. I'm a senior data scientist working at Lloyds. Like Callum, I joined through the graduate scheme. I've been with Lloyds about 4 years now. More, I'll talk about that later when we answer the questions. I work in the Chief Data and Analytics Office, and essentially my role as a data scientist is to help the bank make better decisions for our customers. I'll pass over to Tassie.
Thanks, Shima. My name's Tazzy. I'm currently a senior risk analyst in decision science, which is essentially a modelling team. So we build and look after models that help make sure the bank has enough money aside for any losses that it might encounter. I joined Lloyds last July, so I've been here just over a year and a bit. And I came back after doing a year's placement with them in my 3rd year of uni.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. That's our panelists. So excited to find out a little bit more about you all and how you create such a wonderful team at Lloyds Banking Group. I think we can all safely say that everyone loves working for Lloyds. So that's a really good advert, if nothing else. So let's find out some more. Tassie, let's start with you. You've always enjoyed and been great at maths. You decided to take maths at A-level. You felt that actually there was quite a leap really in terms of complexity from maths GCSE to maths A-level. When did you actually realise this, and what did you do to ensure that you sort of stayed on track to keep those good grades at A-level?
Yeah, I think the jump from GCSE to A-level is ridiculous. I remember being in lower 6 and thinking, I used to be all right at maths. I used to enjoy maths, and instead I was just feeling a bit lost and a bit overwhelmed. It wasn't really until I got my results at the end of that year, at the end of lower 6, where I passed by about 2 marks to get into upper 6. And I think this came down to, I was always someone that would do as little as possible to get, a good enough grade. So I'd revise the night before. I wouldn't push myself because at GCSE I got away with that. And then, yeah, that was kind of the big awakening call to say, you can't do that anymore, Tazzy. Come on, get your act together. And I remember just thinking, I need to pass to then get to uni, to move out. And, I thought, oh, my life's over, which was a bit dramatic. But in a way, it was kind of good because then going into upper six, I was able to, revise from the start. And I think the main thing actually was not being afraid to ask if I didn't understand. Rather than saying, "Oh, that's the answer." I kind of get where they've got it from, but I've got it right, so I'll move on. It was actually understanding the steps, and I think that really helped me to secure getting a maths A level.
Fantastic. Well, it just goes to show that everyone struggles, right? Even if you're fantastic at a subject, sometimes when you go up that next level, perhaps you are that very small fish in that big kind of maths pond. So I'm going to just ask you another question, actually, Tussie, if you don't mind. You always planned to study maths at university. You've just mentioned that. And you'd actually secured yourself a place at Edinburgh, which I know was very close to your heart in terms of location. When and why did you decide to change the course, and what did you need to do to secure yet another place at university?
So yeah, it was about halfway through upper six where I'd I'd kind of always thought, oh, I'm gonna do maths at uni. That's the subject I've excelled in. That's just like naturally where I'll progress. Um, but I just knew it wasn't for me. I just knew like, I've got to my limit with pure mathematics. This is not something I really want to carry on with. And at the time, I was really enjoying economics and especially the mathematical side of it. So I was like, I want to explore that more. So I looked into economics courses with a mix of finance. And I went to my tutor and said, I would like to change my course. And he was like, you can't do that. UCAS is closed. And I said, well, I want to withdraw them because I don't want to do maths anymore. Um, and the way around it was you could apply for one university at a time if they had spaces available. So you kind of weren't in control of where you were going to be, or, well, I guess the course, because you were going to search who was still offering places for that specific course, but there was no guarantee that any universities would be. I was lucky enough in that um, Lancaster University was still offering places for that economics and finance, and I got an offer, and yeah, I'll go as far as to say it was probably one of the best decisions of my life, because I, you know, really enjoyed my course, and if I hadn't have had that passion, I always try and imagine myself doing maths, and I just think it would just have ruined the whole uni experience doing something that I knew wasn't quite right for me. So I'd say, yeah, if there is just any gut feeling or um,
Any kind of doubt?
anxiousness, yeah, then don't be afraid to speak about it and search options, because just because you get an offer or place, it's not set in stone and you can always change.
Absolutely. And I think actually, that was an incredibly brave decision as well, because, there is that sort of, like you say, your gut instinct. Sometimes we go against it, but actually it's so important that we go with that. And we do study something we enjoy, because when we enjoy something we're interested in, when we're interested in it, we do very, very well at it. It's a common theme
Exactly.
actually with these kind of career panels. Everyone's kind of following the same thing. So Shima, over to you. When you finished your A levels, your original plan was to go to university to study medicine. But you decided to delay going to university. What were the reasons behind this, and what did you do instead?
Yeah, so when I first started my A levels, I did biology, chemistry, maths, and physics. So I felt subjects that definitely set me up well for a degree in medicine. I think my intentions for originally wanting to study medicine weren't the best. So I feel like when you're studying your GCSEs or even during your A levels, it's very difficult to expect students to know what they want to do with their lives and with their careers. And so you kind of think of it in the more generic way, like, oh, I want to be a lawyer or an engineer or a journalist. You think of it in a very kind of vague way. And I think for me, what I wanted was everyone wants to be successful, right? They want a career where they earn a lot of money, they're respected, a successful job. And it's hard to pinpoint what that is. And so, especially whilst I was studying my GCSEs, I just thought, okay, well, what do I want to do? I want a respectable career. I want something where I earn a good living, where I can say that, yeah, this is it. This is what success looks like. And for me, studying medicine, being a doctor was that, especially coming from an Asian family where, my parents would constantly say, oh, look at this person's son or daughter, they're studying medicine, they're doing so well for themselves. I used to tutor GCSE maths whilst I was at university, and a lot of what my students would say when I would ask them, well, what do you want to study? What do you want to do? And they would say, Miss, I want to study medicine. I want to be a doctor. And I'd ask them why, and they would say the exact same thing that I thought at their age. And so when I got to my A levels, I realized that I didn't really like biology and chemistry as much. I did well in GCSEs. I feel like, just as Tassie said, when it comes to GCSEs, you can get away with, doing a little as possible. But when it came to A levels, I felt like it was a lot of memorization and being able to read from a textbook. Whereas with my maths and physics subjects, I felt like there was a lot of problem solving, and that's what I really liked about it. And so I got myself into a situation where I thought, okay, well, for the last 2, 3 years or so, I was dead set on studying medicine. I chose A levels surrounding that, but now I don't like half the subjects I've chosen. And I don't want to go to university. I don't want to study medicine. But the issue was I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the idea of not going to university was so foreign to me. I feel like there's a path that's set for you. You do your GCSEs, you do your A levels, you go to university and you get a job, and that's what people tell you to do. So deciding not to do that was definitely very scary. I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do if I don't go to university, if I don't apply? But the last thing I wanted to do was apply for a degree that I didn't think through out of fear. To spend 3, 4 years and however much student loans are on a degree that you have to commit to, that you're not entirely passionate about, you don't know where you're going with, was a step that I wasn't willing to take. And so I decided to take a gap year. So I dropped biology and chemistry in my second year and decided to pick up IT. And I thought, I'll take a gap year and I'll just think about what I want to do in that time, just give myself a little bit of breathing room. And I thought, maybe I'll just get a retail job in the meantime, get some extra pocket money. But I thought about looking into apprenticeships instead. So at the time, I think it was back in like 2015, apprenticeships were still fairly new, but it was a way for me to work, earn some pocket money and gain a qualification at the same time. And it gave me that avenue to, go into a career that way if I wanted to. So I went on the government website, looked at a few apprenticeships, and there was one that really stood out to me. And it was one with NatWest, and it was a commercial banking apprenticeship. And that's what I applied for. So I actually took 2 years out of university because my apprenticeship was at least a year and a half long. And that's what I did. And I'm really glad that I had that time to think about what I wanted to do, because it set me up so well for what I wanted to do once I got to university.
Fantastic. Christ, what a journey. And you hadn't even got to university yet. Whew. Okay, got some serious panelists going on here, audience. Right, so Sarah, let's move over to you. Lloyds Banking Group is a diverse and inclusive employer. Can you tell us what other entry pathways you offer into the business aside from a graduate scheme? Do you have any sort of data apprenticeships, any other schemes that people in the audience might be able to consider?
Yeah, we do. So obviously, about the the graduate programmes, and we've got a number of them to be able to have an entry route into the organisation. We also offer engineering industrial placements, which, as I'm sure most of you probably know, are 1 year paid work experience placements for students at university, which they complete and then go back to do their final year at university. We also offer a range of opportunities in the apprenticeship space, right through from level 2 right up to levels 6 and 7, which are degree and master's levels. So for those that don't know, I assume most people do, but just in case, apprenticeships are a great way of learning on the job and earning at the same time, whilst gaining a qualification which is related to the job that you're doing. So Shima will be able to kind of go into much more detail about the actual experience of that, as she said. But we offer apprenticeships in lots of different areas, right through from kind of finance related ones, but in the sort of data and tech space, we've got lots of different types of engineering ones. And from a data analyst perspective, or sort of data and analytics, we've got a range there as well. So we've got level 3 data and insights, level 4 data analyst, right up to level 6 and 7 sort of degree and master's levels in the database as well. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so we've got lots of different opportunities depending on what kind of stage and situation individual people are in.
Fantastic. So can you just clarify for the audience what a level 2 apprenticeship is, please, Sarah?
Yeah, I guess it starts at kind of entry level, if you like. So level 2 are kind of the more entry level type apprenticeships. And as you kind of work up the levels, the kind of, in some ways we try to create a pathway. So if someone comes in and does, for example, a level 3 data and insights apprenticeship, depending on the role that they're doing, it can lead into a pathway to then do a level 4, a level 6.
Right, I see.
And we have a lot of people who do apprenticeships with us who kind of start off at that entry level, if you like.
Yeah.
But the more experience and the more knowledge they've got, they continue to build on that to kind of move right through the levels to what suits.
And are we talking sort of level 2s from sort of secondary school? Or is that from sort of A level? Or can you come in at any kind of age and do any of the levels?
Yeah, I guess age probably isn't really a barrier. It depends on the different apprenticeship standards, to be honest. There's a lot more information on the website, so Lloyds Banking Group Talent.com, and I know that you're going to send out some information after the call as well. And there's a lot more information on the website, which will kind of provide a lot more information about the different levels and what opportunities might be available. So.
That's great. Thanks, Sarah. So Shima, back to you. You obviously, we've just finished talking about the apprenticeship that you did with NatWest. You then obviously decided to go off to university, and you did a degree in engineering. How did that degree give you an insight into the breadth of different careers and pathways and job roles available to you? And I guess out of an interest point of view, because now we've gone from medicine to an apprenticeship to engineering, what was your favourite module and why?
Yeah, good question. So I think I'll start off with why I decided to do an engineering degree. So to give you context, I had no interest in going into engineering after studying it as my degree. I think whilst I was on my apprenticeship, I got a lot of advice from family and friends who had like studied at university and now were early on in their careers, and it's what you do as your degree, most of the time you won't actually go into that specific field. And it may be that there's something else that piqued your interest, you decided it wasn't for you, and that's completely normal. So the advice I got was study something you enjoy, something that will give you those technical skills and give you those soft skills. And I thought engineering was a perfect fit for that. So I think one of my favorite subjects was my mechanics module. And that's because it was a mix between kind of maths and physics that I really enjoyed at A level. But another one of my modules, there was a lot of group work that I did in every single one of my years. And in one of our final projects, we actually had to create a robot and then program it with an Arduino, and we were in design teams, and I had that every single year. I had a design project, and that was probably one of my favorite things. And that helped me massively when it came to interviews and situational judgment tests. The skills you learn, especially how to work with others, how to work as a team, are so valuable when it comes to having interviews, because that's what hiring managers look for. Like, yes, the technical stuff is important, but are you able to work well with others? Are you able to listen to other people, work good as a team? Those are the things that they really look for. And I felt like my degree, although I learned a lot of technical skills. It was those soft skills that I developed during my group projects that helped me the most.
Fantastic. And I think to your point there, you know, every single team you work in, irrespective of what industry you join, you know, you have people that have different skills or, you know, slightly deeper skills in certain areas. And that's how you continue to learn. And that's how you continue to respect people for the skills that they have actually, and be able to create a kind of jigsaw puzzle that creates an awesome team that can deliver. Brilliant. Callum, I think you might have thought we've forgotten about you. So I'm going to throw this question over to you. After your Morse course at Warwick, you were keen to secure a place onto a graduate scheme. Can you tell us why that was so important to you? And can you also tell the audience what a Morse course is, just in case they don't know?
Yeah. So Morse is it stands for Maths, Operational Research, Statistics, and Economics. And I guess part of the reason why I chose to study Morse is because, like Shima, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after uni. I just saw kind of a degree that had a lot of maths and statistics in as a quite an open-ended degree, something you could do a lot with. It's less pigeonholed, you know, like a law or a medical degree might be. And that kind of led on to when I left uni, I didn't necessarily have the skills for what I wanted to do. It was only in my third year that I really discovered a love for kind of using data and maths and statistics to make decisions, which is really what data science is all about. But because I only really discovered that passion in my third year, I didn't really feel comfortable that I would have the skills to secure a non-graduate scheme role, because it's on a grad scheme where you can really develop those skills that you need to go into a permanent role. And that's really what I felt like I needed, just to develop that confidence. And you get that because being on the grad scheme, it's a very supportive environment. There's when you go into a team, people understand that you're a grad and that your primary focus isn't to contribute to the project or the placement that you're on. It's for self-development. You're there to learn not just the technical skills, but also about the team and the project and the bank or the organisation in general. And in particular with the Lloyds grad scheme, there's 3 rotations. So you do get a huge breadth of field in terms of where you're going to work. I think that's important as well because when like the only jobs I'd had before this were non-technical jobs. So I hadn't really much experience working in like a corporation or an industry. In particular in banking, I had no experience there. So I didn't really know where I wanted to work long term. But we've been able to do 3 8-month rotations, you can experience lots of different parts of the bank, and particularly at Lloyds, which is such a huge bank. The diversity in the placements and the skills that you can pick up on those, it's very large.
Fantastic. And I guess with the rotational placements as well, not only do you kind of get to see where you most enjoy working or the different kind of skills that you're going to pick up, but equally to get a better understanding, right, of how the different departments work and what they deliver. Because as you say, it's a humongous corporation. And I guess for you, and to have that support and guidance for a graduate scheme, I think is fantastic. Great. Sarah, I'm going to come back now and ask you a sort of early years question, if I may. Can you give us an overview of the data graduate schemes you offer? Just sort of touching very briefly on what Callum was talking about, rotational, non-rotational, and when you hire for these positions.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I think that's led on quite nicely actually from what Callum was talking about there. So we have a data science graduate programme, the one that Callum is on at the moment. It's been running since 2019, and I think it's been going from strength to strength. I think it's each year we kind of try to improve on what we're doing, and hopefully Callum will be one of the people to help us feed into any improvements we want to make ongoing as well. And I think back to the point of it's such a large organisation. I'm probably showing my age here, but I've been with the group 20 years now, but it doesn't feel like that because there are so many different opportunities to kind of move around and work with different people and do different things. So, but from a data science perspective, it's a 2-year programme. So people, we usually bring people in around the September time. For the first 6 to 8 weeks on that programme, all of the graduates on that programme do a data science boot camp, and that gives people an understanding of, I guess they can get to know others from the wider data science community as well as each other on the programme, and also to just understand the basics of data science at Lloyds Banking Group. So whether that's the models that they use, the frameworks that they use, kind of best practice methods to set them up for success once they go into their placements. that kind of 6 to 8 weeks is that initial stage that they go through. And then they go into their placements, which, as Callum said, is the 3 8-month placements across, sometimes within our Chief Data and Analytics Office, which is the kind of centre of excellence, if you like, for the group on anything data science related. But we are growing the data science community across the group. So there are graduates that do placements in our kind of commercial banking areas, retail. I think there's lots of scope to kind of be able to work in different parts of the group and gain lots of really good breadth and experience. So we're open now for applications for the programme, for that and all of our other programmes for the programme to start in 2023. The current closing date is the 20th of November, but it's worth keeping an eye on the website on that one, because it does kind of get extended sometimes as well. There are multiple data science roles available across different hubs as well. So I think this year we're advertising for London, Cardiff and Bristol, Manchester and Edinburgh. So again, you've got lots of opportunity to work in different locations. And even if you apply for a particular location, that doesn't mean to say that if you've got particular development needs, you can't move throughout the programme as well. So I guess that's one that's kind of, it's a good opportunity to kind of, again, not just get different experiences working with different teams, but also across different parts of the country. The programme's open to anyone who has got or is on track to have a 2-2 degree or above, and it can be from any degree discipline. For data science and engineering programme that we have, you do need some existing coding knowledge. But there is a practice zone on the website, and there are practice tests and things like that, so you can see if you're if it's something that you would be suitable for and if it's something you'd be interested in. We also accept sponsorship applications for our data science and engineering programmes as well. And in terms of the application process, it might help just for me to give a really high overview of that one, but there are 2 main stages for our kind of data and tech programmes. The first stage, candidates are assessed around their strengths, your values and your coding ability. And then if you're successful at that stage, you would be invited to an assessment day, and that's held virtually, so through Microsoft Teams, the same as this one. And there's a combination of different activities during the assessment day, so the short problem solving activities, a one-to-one interview, group activities as well, and then another coding challenge as well. So there's a lot to take in there, but again, you can go to the website, get more information on it. But yeah, I think it's a great programme, and it's a really, yes, exciting time in the data and tech world within Lloyds Banking Group, because there's a lot going on in those spaces just now. So.
Fantastic, Sarah. Thank you for that overview. And just to let everybody know, to reiterate, this is being recorded. Everybody will get this session emailed across to them by the end of the week, if not the beginning of next, because Sarah is preparing a 2-page document with all of the links, all of the information that you can really explore as many opportunities as possible. I'm aware that some questions are coming through the chat. I think it's probably best that we carry on with the conversation, and at the end, we'll start with those questions, if that's okay. So Callum, I'm going to go back to you. When you interviewed for Lloyds Banking Group, and as Sarah's just touched on, the assessment centre, you had very limited programming knowledge in comparison to some of the other candidates. What skills do you think that you sort of succeeded in the assessment centre? What did you bring to the table that perhaps some of the other successful graduates didn't?
Yes, this is something we kind of discussed about when we all first met up as grads. There was quite a disparity in the technical knowledge. A lot of the other grads had masters and stuff. But then, as Sarah said, the assessment centre isn't just a technical test. There are other components. And there, I think, is where I was able to bring up my own application, being lacking in some of the technical skills myself. I think a lot of it is to kind of do with other experiences that you can have. So you don't just have to lean on your technical skills. For example, I worked on the bar as a lifeguard before, and I was able to kind of bring forth experiences from those 2 jobs that I think were able to help in the assessment centre. Partly in the group exercise, I had quite a lot of experience working in a team, particularly being a lifeguard. It's all very team focused, but also just in general in the kind of one-to-one interviews, where it's a lot of, can you tell me about a time where you've done this? None of my examples were technical, but I still could lean on other experiences that I had. I do think it's important to kind of not be put off from the process if you think that you lack some of those technical skills, because I certainly did. But you just then have to kind of lean on the other skills that I'm sure everyone has kind of a wide breadth of skills, some which are technical, some which are non-technical. So it's just about bringing forward and presenting those skills that are your strengths.
I totally agree, and I think it's really important that we celebrate what we have rather than apologise for what we don't. And I think Sarah and everyone here will be in agreement that actually, if you've got a passion for data, and certainly working in a certain industry sector, you know, and an interest level, then actually coding skills can be taught if you have that kind of passion for it. You know, as Sarah mentioned, it's good if you come to the table with some experience. Obviously, Digdata gives you the opportunity to gain virtual work experience in data. And just to plug the Lloyds Banking Group Step Up Career Challenge next week. So that's for university and higher education students. That's next Wednesday, the 9th of November at 6 p.m, where you can have the opportunity to work on a business problem using data for Lloyds. So not a bad opportunity to really dip your toe in the water, I guess, and see if Lloyds, you know, have problems that you enjoy solving. So, Callum, I know you touched on this very briefly. You know, you said, you know, how did Lloyds Banking Group ensure that your technical skills were developed? Sarah's mentioned obviously the 6 to 8 weeks kind of boot camp there. Can you just give us a little bit of an overview of, you know, the kind of level you were when you applied and were accepted to where you were at when you kind of come out of that boot camp? And what's your advice to anybody that could perhaps prepare?
Yes, I guess in terms of the level that I started at, I did have some technical knowledge. I did you tried to study as much about data science as I could as possible. But the point of the bootcamp is to get all of the grads up to a similar level. Because even if you've, you know, all experts in data science, if you've studied at different universities, you've been on different courses, the knowledge that you all have is going to be very different. So the bootcamp is just about bringing up everyone to a kind of a similar level. So there were parts of the bootcamp that I found quite easy just because I'd studied those topics before. And then there were others that I you know, I really need to pay attention to, and it would have been the inverse for some of the other grads. So what was the second question, Rachel? Second part of that?
Any advice that you'd give to sort of prepare? I mean, obviously we've talked about Digdata and the virtual work experience. Is there any kind of any other kind of techniques or organisations that potentially any of the audience could get involved in today, just to prepare them as much as possible, maybe for some coding experience?
So I'd say the biggest way that I've always found to help me learn is by doing a project that I'm interested in. But going into a new field like I was with data science, I didn't really know what sort of project would be a data science project. So for me to get a starting point, I would watch courses on YouTube. I'm sure you can use other services that provide these sort of training courses, but for me, YouTube was fine just to get a good baseline into what data science is. And then from that, I was able to kind of pick up a project that I thought was interesting to me. So I picked up two projects that I wanted to work on in my own time. One was sentiment analysis, and the other was kind of creating simulations using active learning. And once you have a project and something that you're interested in, it becomes a lot easier to develop those skills for kind of two reasons. The first one being that it's something that you're interested in, so you're fine kind of pushing through some of the harder stuff because it is for something that you're interested in. But also just doing a free project, a project that is your own, it really pushes your problem solving skills because you discover a problem and then it's all about researching how to solve it, as opposed to just kind of watching a course and being told stuff. You really have to understand those problems and then like search for solutions yourself, which is definitely a big help for me to learn more about the field.
Fantastic. Thank you for your advice. Sarah, I wanted to go back to you. I think you've sort of touched on this a little bit earlier. You know, all of our panelists here have come from sort of, you know, maths or an engineering sort of STEM focused degree. You mentioned very earlier that actually you will interview candidates from any type of course discipline. And I guess, you know, if you say any, what would you say is, and if you know any of the kind of most extreme non-STEM subject that you've had somebody join a data science course? Because I think from a confidence point of view for the audience, I think they probably need to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as I said before, it's as long as you've got a minimum, or well, as long as you have or are on track to have a 2 degree or above from any degree discipline, you're fine to apply as long as you think that you've got that kind of existing coding knowledge. So I think Python, SQL, that type of thing. Callum will be able to probably comment from his knowledge and him actually knowing personally a lot of the other data science graduates, but from memory, we've had people join before on the data science programme with archaeology degrees, geography degrees, but actually they might have had a genuine passion themselves for coding and have taught them themselves in their spare time or done some of these courses and things like that. So I think for us to then restrict any entry requirements to particularly to just to STEM degrees, I think we'd lose out on a lot of really good people, because
Absolutely.
it's more about having that passion and that willingness to learn and be really willing to kind of get involved in things. So yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there are practice tests and things like that on the website as well. So it's worth having a look on there and just figuring out if it's something that is right for you. But yeah, absolutely don't need to have a particular degree subject or anything like that.
That's such a breath of fresh air, really it is. And I guess also sort of you're diversifying people's the way they think, you know, the way they approach different problems as well. If you have the same people approaching it in the same way, you've got a bit of a problem going on there. Okay,
yeah, it's all about that diversity of thought, isn't it? And just and bringing something different to the table.
Absolutely that. Just wondering if you could possibly train a knitwear grad from Nottingham Trent 20 years ago into a data science role. I think that might be a bit of a challenge, really. But if you're
well,
prepared
yeah,
to
we do
take it
have
on.
people joining who have they've got lots of work experience or kind of decided to come back to it and maybe have graduated a few years ago as well. So you don't have to literally have just graduated, which is another thing to keep in mind too.
No, definitely. And I think there's a couple of questions in the chat about that, so we'll get to that shortly. Tassie, let's move over to you. So you joined Lloyds Banking Group initially, and you mentioned this in your intro, on an industrial placement where you worked as a risk analyst in a technical role. Can you tell us more about this role and why it interested you?
Yeah, so when I was looking to do placements, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. I just kind of wanted any experience in industry, which is quite bad looking back, but it's natural, I feel, just to be a bit overwhelmed with all the different opportunities that are out there. But I saw Lloyd's advertising for a risk placement. Now I'd done a little bit of risk in one of my modules at university. But when I read the description, there was two. There was a business or a technical role. And the technical role, I think, was more tailored to my skill set, although like Callum said, you don't necessarily need to have them all. So I'll be very honest and say I'd never coded before. But that was something that was on the requirements. So I got the opportunity to say that to them, that, you know, I'm not a coder, I've not coded before, but, you know, I'm eager to learn and, you know, I feel like I could grasp it. And the role that I was put into, it does vary on business needs. But if you state that you want a technical role, you will be given a technical role. It's not that you'll be placed anywhere. And I ended up being in a strategy team within risk. So our focus was using data to work out how to help our customers, basically. I was on commercial, so it was looking at businesses and how they can, you know, have as little interaction with the bank unnecessarily. So, you know, if their loan was coming up for renewal, how they could do that without having to phone the bank or go into the bank. And it was using data to try and find what customers would be eligible for that, things like that. So I think just to highlight here, although it wasn't a data scientist role, data is used across the bank in all divisions, and I'm back in risk now, like I say, and data is just getting bigger and bigger in the way that it drives our decisions and how we operate.
Great news. Well, thank you for covering that off. I think we can safely say that data is literally everywhere now, isn't it? And certainly whether you've got analyst, scientist, technician in your job title, I think everybody needs to have a responsibility of being proficient in data and an appreciation of how it is making decisions every single day, for all of us. So this is going to be our final question, and I'm going to go to you, Sarah, if I may, because it actually follows on from Tassie. Industrial placements, you know, as to Tassie's point, are such a great way for students to gain an insight into the world of work, certainly apply some of their skills as well before completing their final year at university. How many industrial placements do you offer every year? And I guess that's a massive question if we're talking about the whole of Lloyds. Let's talk about data and tech, if we may. And what is the application and recruitment process for these particular positions?
Yeah, so from a data and tech perspective, we don't currently offer data industrial placements. However, we do continually review these things. So that's not to say that in future years, that's not going to be an opportunity that we don't offer. So at the moment, we offer an engineering industrial placement, which live at the moment for applications on our website as well. We offer a number of opportunities in the industrial placements across different hubs. So again, Edinburgh, London, Manchester and West Yorkshire hubs. They start at the end of June in 2023 for a year. I think the closing date for those applications at the moment is the 13th of January from memory. But again, keep an eye on the website in case we extend that, or if there are any changes to that, it would be updated on the website. And in terms of the application process, it's very similar to the one that I said earlier on for the graduate programmes. It's a two-stage process. They do that first stage of where they kind of go through the values and the strengths and the coding tests and things like that, and then they get invited to a virtual assessment centre. So very similar, but again, all of the information's on the website for practicing any tests and to understand kind of a little bit more of the detail about what to think about. But I think the key thing for me is whatever programme you're applying for, you need to just demonstrate the passion that you've got for it and the why, and why you want to work in that field. And I guess it's helpful to know a little bit more about Lloyds and do a bit of research on them as well. But I think the key thing is us wanting to get to know you and how you operate and what your strengths are and things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. What an amazing group of panelists and what great stories to share. Thank you guys so much. Let's go to the chat function now and check out some of the questions that we have there. Bear with me just a second. I'm going to do a little bit of a scroll down. Okay. So we've got here, somebody's done a master's in international business with a placement year. I'm assuming that you're looking to do a placement. Is that right, Mirabelle? If you can, are you able to take yourself off mute? Not sure if you can, or maybe you want to put something into the chat. Just to confirm, I think that may well be because she's obviously done an international, doing a master's in international business. Actually, you can do a placement year when you're on a master's, Sarah, is that right? If you've got a placement year, and again, it doesn't matter about the course discipline.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think obviously we offer the engineering ones at the moment, so you would want to do engineering.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly have a look at the website and get a
Great.
little bit of information.
Can I
Brilliant,
just
thank
add
you.
to that? Sorry, Rachel.
Of course you can.
I was just going to say that I know the engineering one is very data focused, but if data is something that you want to get a flavour of, for example, on the risk one, if you state that you can get to find out what it's like to work with data and see if it is for you. So don't necessarily be put off if you think, oh, I don't want to go in the deep end with an engineering straight with all the data. There are, like I say, data's just getting bigger and bigger. So check out all of them and see.
Definitely, and don't be frightened of it. I think a lot of people panic when they hear the word data.
Yeah, one of the things that we're actually looking at across the group at the moment is it doesn't matter whether or not you work in a data role. Everybody needs to have that skill of being able to kind of manipulate data, to understand data, see the trends in data. So there's a big piece of work going on across the group at the moment around actually how can we help people who don't work in data roles and might be interested in it to just learn a little bit more. And there's loads of opportunities at Lloyds Banking Group for development yourself. There's lots of kind of online courses and things like that you can do that are self-taught or through classroom sort of activities as well. So yeah, loads of different ways of doing it.
But it's safe to say that everyone at Lloyds Banking Group should dig data, right? So
Exactly, yeah.
shameless plug. Right, okay. Let's move over to Joanna. Joanna, hi. Nice to see you could make it. Joanna is one of the careers consultants for Open University. And she's put here, do Lloyds provide any programs for career changers and mature students who are interested in working for Lloyds, but who may not want to apply for a grad program?
So I guess there's obviously all the programs that we've spoken about. I mean, for apprenticeships, for example, there are, depending on the program it is and depending on the subject of the degree that you've got, you could be eligible to do some of the sort of more senior level apprenticeships. We do have for those who have maybe been in work and have been out of work for sort of, I think it's around 18 months. And we've got a returners program at the moment that's open for applications. And again, we've got, even if you were to just go onto the General Lloyds website and have a look at any general vacancies there, we do offer some other things. I think there's kind of an actuarial program that we run as well at some points. We've got some quants PhD kind of programs as well. So I guess it depends on individuals, but it's worth just always having a look on the website and seeing what's available at the time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. So I've got here, dear panelists, I've studied economics, finance and risk, associate chartered banker diploma. Following the COVID-19 era, I decided to upskill and develop my technical skills. Therefore, I'm currently a finalist of computing and information systems masters, and I identify as a person with disability and ethnic minority. What is your top advice for me as a future colleague at Lloyds Banking Group? Sarah, I'm going to throw that one over to you, I think, unless anybody else feels that they want to jump in and answer that question.
I can start off, and if anyone wants to add to it, then absolutely feel free. But I would say just be yourself. In terms of the recruitment processes that we go through, there's a huge amount of work that goes into the design of those to make sure that they're inclusive as possible. So if someone has any particular needs that you have and you want to share it with us, then we would absolutely work with you to make sure that that we're able to support that. But yeah, absolutely. I think just be yourself. I think we're really open to anyone applying for vacancies and roles if they're interested in them. So I wouldn't want people to think that anything like that would hold them back. But yeah, our processes, we really do a lot to try and make sure that they're as fair as possible, and that that candidates that apply or people that want to apply for the roles are supported throughout the process.
Great. That sounds really, really encouraging. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to that? No? Okay, so we've got David here. Is there a program for experienced master's students that seek career change, not interested or fit for the regular placement programs, but for experienced positions? I think we did touch on this actually earlier. I've been a management consultant. I just needed to change to data scientist and dwell more on computing and programming, but I have years of experience in investment banking and management consultancy. Now, you know, I mean, what a fantastic skill set to actually bring to the table, Sarah. I think I could probably answer this one for you, but because I don't work for Lloyds, I think I better let you do that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that we do have the graduate programme, and if you've got a master's, then you're still welcome to apply. I mean, we're happy for masters, PhD students, etc. But if that type of programme isn't for you, then absolutely have a look on the website. And I think within the data and tech space at the moment, there are lots of opportunities coming up externally. So it's worthwhile having a look on the external website, not just the early careers one, but the more general Lloyds Banking Group careers website as well, because you could then contact whoever the recruitment manager is and have that discussion with them about what you're looking to do. More often than not, they're not the only person recruiting for that type of role as well, and they can potentially put you in touch with other people who are hiring as well. So I think, yeah, just have a look on the website, make the contact, arrange a phone call, and yeah, see where it goes from there.
Fantastic. And Sarah, just as a note, can we make sure we have on that 1 or 2 pager maybe the experience careers link as well?
Yeah,
just so
absolutely.
That we do have a number of people that are members from Open University, etc.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. In regards to the apprenticeships, is there the possibility to do a level 6 or 7 finance related apprenticeship as a school leaver after A levels? So I think basically what this person's saying, because you mentioned a level 6 is a degree, right? Is that possible that when you finish your A levels, you can go straight into a level 6?
Yes, I think is the answer to that. I won't be very specific in terms of individual programs because it depends on what the apprenticeship program is, and some of the eligibility requirements vary. But I do know that we have had school leavers before going in to do apprenticeships at that degree level. And I think one of the things that we do like to talk about is not everyone wants to go to university, and it isn't always for them, but an apprenticeship can also be a really, really good alternative where you're gaining a qualification, whether that's degree or otherwise. It doesn't have to be degree level, but you're learning on the job, you're earning at the same time, and you're gaining a qualification, you're meeting new people, you're in the world of work. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't. I just think apprenticeships are a fantastic alternative to
Agreed.
university for some people who might
Definitely.
not want to go down that traditional route.
Exactly that, and I think there's so more accessible, there's so more widely offered by industry now, and actually, you know, employers are getting less focused on the fact that you need a degree and you have to have qualifications. Actually, they're really appreciative of the people actually learn and develop in lots of different ways. And I think that's how we continue to build future diverse talent pipelines. So brilliant. Okay.
And just to add to the end of that answer is I don't think we've got apprenticeship vacancies live right now, but I think we probably do have some that are due to go live at the beginning of next year. So keep an eye on the website. Even if you want to go in and have a look now, you can register your interest.
Right.
And then it means that when any vacancies do go live, you'll get an email from us to let you know that which ones have gone live and things. So
let's be fair, the beginning of next year is not too far off. I think somebody mentioned earlier it's 52 sleeps to Christmas, just saying. So okay, so okay. Now we've just got here a request for LinkedIn profiles and things to be shared. I will have a conversation with the panelists after this call, and we will email those out if we do have their permissions. Any industrial placements in cybersecurity, Sarah? I'm currently a second year computer science student. Do you do anything in cyber?
Not at the moment, I'm afraid. We do have apprenticeship opportunities. I wouldn't say we've got specific sort of cyber-focused industrial placements or anything like that just now. But like I said, we do continuously review these things year on year. So it's not to say that we wouldn't at some point, but unfortunately right now we don't have something like that.
But I'm assuming though that if there was a cybersecurity apprenticeship, would that go up to a level 7? Is that something they could do after their degree?
I think it's degree and master's level we go up to for the cyber ones as well. So yeah, again, we've got a range of those.
Fantastic.
From an apprenticeship perspective.
Okay. I'm not from a data analyst background. I'm doing a master's in international business. What are the grad schemes available for me? Again, we've touched on this in the respect that, as Sarah mentioned, if you've got a passion and an interest for data and analytics or tech or engineering or anything within Lloyds Banking Group, actually, they're very, very open to your course discipline that you've studied. You're happy with that, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter. It could be any of them that are available for you or suitable for you. It just depends on what you're interested in.
Fantastic. What are the options for graduate schemes for those graduating in January?
If you're graduating in January, same, I think. I think it's likely for most of the programmes, particularly in the data and tech space, that we're going to still be open for applications at that point. And so if you're wanting to start a graduate programme in September next year, then absolutely, if you're going to graduate in January, I would imagine by now you probably know what you're on track to receive. So if you fit into the eligibility criteria, get your application now.
Fantastic, and possibly enjoy it. Take some time to really think about next steps, especially if you've been working hard. Okay, I'm going to do 2 last questions here. So apologies if for any reason we don't get to your question. If there's anything that you have burning inside you that you want answered, if you want to email me either this evening or tomorrow or next week to info@digdata.online if your question hasn't been answered, and I will fire that out to the panelists and hopefully we can get some answers from you guys. So here's the next question. Hi everyone, I'm a finance and accounting final grad student, have no experience in this field yet and looking for internships. Any advice? I think again we've covered that, haven't we? In terms of sort of placements, again, there's not any in kind of a data and analytics, but within kind of engineering. I suppose, perhaps throw this back out to the panelists right now. I know that you did a placement here, didn't you, Tassie? I know you did an apprenticeship, and Callum, that was something you just went straight onto the graduate program. What would your advice to anybody right now that's looking for an internship? What would your advice be? Maybe, with Lloyds and outside of Lloyds. Anybody got any thoughts?
I guess a big one for me would be to just kind of research, especially at what area you would like to go into. If you do know it's data, then also kind of look at what industry, because there are two parts to any job. One is the industry you're in, and the other is the role. So I'd make sure you get a good breadth of that. But the good thing about an internship is that it is short term, so you can kind of do it and see if you like it. But either way, you will pick up transferable skills.
Definitely.
So it's not the end of the world if you try something that you don't end up liking.
No, exactly that. And sometimes I think it's easier to work out what you don't like sometimes than rather what you do, and use that as a sort of elimination process. Shima, you look like you were going to say something. What advice can you offer up our audience today?
Yeah, so I think just the experience I had applying to internships and graduate programs is they always kind of do it in a set way. So you'll have a situational judgment test that tests how you may behave at a workplace, a numerical reasoning test, and a literacy test. And that's kind of the similar format that you'll get for most internships and graduate schemes. Those tests, no one will, maybe some people, but it's not something you naturally know because some of them are timed as well. All I can say is practice, practice, practice. Do it as many times as you can, like you're revising for an exam, and at least you get that part out of the way and you meet that benchmark. And in terms of interviews, just practice with a friend, go over as many interview questions as you can, get yourself comfortable in front of talking in front of a camera. I know during COVID they had the kind of 30-second video intros that you did as an interview. Absolutely hated it. But yeah, just all kind of internships and graduate schemes follow a similar format. If you crack what that format is, practice as much as you can. There's no reason why you couldn't make it to the final stages.
Fantastic. That is fantastic advice. Okay, last one here, last question. What would you suggest to a year 11 student interested in data science? Oh, who am I going to throw this one out to? Let's get that from all of our panelists. Tassie, what would you suggest to somebody interested in data science in year 11?
In year 11, well, I would just say, kind of don't let that passion go away type thing. If you know, go on to A levels, go on to university, and you're like, debating whether, you're using enough data or you're not, at the level you should be. I think, if you know that that's a passion of yours, work at it, do your research. Like Callum said before, there's loads of resources online, YouTube, for you to upskill yourself, and that will put you ahead of, other candidates when it comes to applying for internships or jobs. So yeah, I'd just say keep with it. Don't be afraid, if people think, oh, data, that's not cool. It is cool.
Yeah, that's
Stick with it.
it's exactly that. It is completely cool. You're right, and I'll argue the point with anybody that wants to say it's not. Shima, do you want to give us some advice to this year 11?
Yeah, so just to say something different from what Tassie has already mentioned, I think in year 11, you don't really get subjects tailored for data science or even coding. So it's something that you have to work at in your own time. A good thing that you can do, and it's something that I was actually asked during my interview, is Kaggle competitions. So one thing that Callum mentioned is, doing some projects, and Kaggle is a good way to get yourself involved in developing that. Create a Git repository for yourself where you keep all your projects and use that as your portfolio when you apply for jobs and graduate schemes.
Fantastic. And Callum, do you have anything to add to that? You mentioned earlier about sort of working on projects and things. How important do you think that would be to keep, this students sort of focused and in the game for data science?
Yeah, I think that matters a lot, and having kind of a specialist project that you've come up with yourself and worked on would make you stand out a lot and show initiative. And also, I guess just maybe say year 11, you've got plenty of time before you would get into the job. So I just kind of recommend to develop other skills as well, to not just become too focused. Like we said before, with the interview process or the assessment center process, it doesn't just test your technical skills. It's good to have plenty of other skills. Just because you know what you want to do doesn't mean you just have to focus on that for the next few years.
No, exactly that. And Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, a couple of things actually. So I guess for those who are still at school, we do have some other kind of virtual sessions that we run as well. And again, I'll include the links they're kind of run on a regular basis, sometimes on different topics. I think there was one recently on university versus apprenticeships, some to talk about what kind of finance careers there are in Lloyds Banking Group. So at some point, I would imagine there will be one on what kind of data careers there are at Lloyds Banking Group as well. So again, I'll link that in the 1 to 2 pager, but there are kind of offerings for people who are at school level, for those at university level as well. We've got in the undergraduate section of the website, it's called Start Your Journey, and it's kind of I think it's a 2 or 3 days it lasts, and it's virtual work experience where we've got a kind of 2 different versions, and one of those is a tech version, which is very much focused towards those looking to get into kind of the data science or engineering side of things. So yeah, we have got lots of things available, which I'll make sure are included in that slide that's sent out afterwards.
That's fantastic. And I guess it's really important to kind of broaden your horizons. On that note, we do have a library resource on our Digdata website as well. So all of the partners that we've worked with before for Next Step, you can have access to people like Capital One and BT and CACI and Facebook. And really, I guess to everyone's point here is to really understand what does interest you aside from data science. Is there a particular industry sector? Is there a particular type of problem you like to solve? You know, and then go for it. So look, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to our panelists today. Absolutely inspiring, fantastic session. I feel completely engaged and inspired for the rest of the evening now. I hope everybody in the audience feels the same. Just to confirm, the session has been recorded. It will be sent out to you, if not by the end of the week, certainly the beginning of next, with the supporting information to do with careers from Lloyds Banking Group. Just wanted to say, if for any reason we haven't got to your question in the chat, please do email me at info@digdata.online, and we'll make sure that we'll get as many of your questions answered as possible. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you feel as inspired as me. Take care. Thank you.